what we're actually going to talk about today is what we're seeing in the laboratory and what we are doing to protect ourselves from it. And why is that important for you? It's important for you because if we're seeing it in the laboratory, guess what? It's on the street and it's in the houses. And you know, those of you that do respond to homes and go directly to them, you may very well encounter this stuff. You may not know what you're even encountering. And so I want to show you what we're seeing, and then we're going to talk a lot about safety of what we're doing and maybe some recommendations and suggestions that you can take home with you. So Georgia trends, dangerous drugs, and safety, up, down. I'm never going to get this part right. See? Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, that's cute. Okay, so these are our overall stats for 2015, 16, and 17, and I realize it is kind of small. This is just a couple things I do want to point out to you. This is methamphetamine category. This is the cocaine category, and as you see, those are our number 1 and number 2 drugs in the state still. Now, the opiates are not too far behind cocaine. They're all here, and the opiates really encompasses a drug category that includes things like heroin, methadone, morphine, hydromorphone, oxycodone, hydrocodone, etc. So all of your painkillers, including fentanyl, which we're going to talk a lot about. But basically, this is the big painkiller class. It's just fancy opiate word here. These are the depressants, so your alprazolam, your Xanax, your diazepams and Valiums, that's where that category falls into. And then there's just this randomness on the other side that we see, psychedelics, miscellaneous, and then a couple of other synthetics that we're going to talk about. And one of the things that I wanted to point out before I even get further into the trends, you may be thinking, okay, dangerous drugs have been around for many, many years. Why is all of a sudden everything being talked about right now? Well, there's a really good reason for that. Cocaine and methamphetamine, drugs that we have all heard of, have actually been studied on humans, and they are available via prescription in very specific circumstances. Okay, so the cocaine is a vasconstrictor, the other way, constricts blood vessels. So it's used in nasal surgeries at times. Methamphetamine is actually sold as or prescribed as a disoxin tablet in cases of severe obesity because it's a stimulant, so it will help you lose weight. So those are the two main things that cocaine and meth are used for. Now, why do I bring that up? There's human studies. So the things that we're going to talk about today, these are things that there aren't human studies for. And so that's what's different now, is there are attempts out there, one, to skirt the laws, and we all know cocaine and heroin and meth are all illegal. So there's attempts to skirt the law by tweaking the molecules ever so slightly. There's also attempts out there to make a drug that mimics something else that's cheaper. So there's a monetary incentive, and then many of these drugs actually produce a better high. Methamphetamine, we have about 12,000 cases of methamphetamine coming into the crime lab. Now, these are not overdoses, I do want to be clear. What we do in the drug section is whenever an agency goes and does a traffic stop or a search warrant or whatever it is that they may do, and they confiscate this little white powder or this little yellow pill or this liquid or it's a methamphetamine lab, we receive those samples in my section and we test them. So this is what you're actually seeing are samples that are submitted by law enforcement to the GBI crime lab for testing. So that's what you're seeing, not overdoses. I just want to be clear on that. And this is not toxicology. So blood, guts, bits, and parts, I don't deal with that. I just do the drugs. All right, so methamphetamine, I gotta quit saying that. It occurred to me, I've said that 3 times. Methamphetamine, got about 12,000 cases, cocaine about 6,000. And that may shock some of you. You may have thought cocaine was our number 1 drug. It's not. And it hasn't been. It's half the number of methamphetamine. Our state loves its methamphetamine. Oxycodone is number 3. Alprazolam, which is Xanax, is number 4. Hydro is number 5. And heroin's moved up to number 6. So that's our top ones. Okay, and for 2017, it mimics exactly the same thing. The only thing that's a little different there is that the oxy, the heroin, and the hydro kind of skip around a little bit. So that's the only thing that's different. In general, the trend is actually still completely the same. Now, I don't know if you know this. I put this in here. This is meth. This is crystal meth. But you see what color it is? So I don't know if you know this, but drugs change color with the seasons. So at Christmas time, we get green and we get red meth. At Easter time, we get pretty pastels. Marketing, I suppose. I mean, I like colors too. I understand. I like color. Like if I get to pick between a pretty color something or a regular color something, I'm picking the pretty one. So I just put that in there to show you that, you know, the drugs can change colors with the season. So just because you think, or maybe you have seen crystal meth before and it's always been white, not always white. Okay, so what we're looking at here is all of the opiates in the state of Georgia by county. And so the number one opiate by far is oxycodone, and number two is hydrocodone. And this is where the problem is mostly isolated. It's mostly around Metro Atlanta. So that's where we definitely get the highest number of seizures and cases sent into the crime lab for testing. As you see, there are a couple other places over in Savannah and over in Augusta that have a higher number of opiates as well, for whatever reason. Okay, this is a map that just is about hydrocodone. The map on the left shows you the submissions to the crime lab. Again, little pills taken and sent to us for testing, and it comes back hydrocodone. What you're seeing on the right is the courtesy of Georgia Drugs and Narcotics. This is the number of prescriptions of hydrocodone. So you can see that in the areas where it's prescribed more, that is in fact where the seizures are coming from at the GBI crime lab. Okay, drug trends regarding heroin. This shows you from 2011 to 2012, we definitely have had a spike. You will see a little bit of a dip in 2016. There may or may not be a number of reasons for that. I think it may be because the heroin and the oxy are sharing a little bit of the love here. So the numbers for heroin are down for whatever reason. Maybe a person went to a different opioid other than heroin. So I don't exactly know why, but the heroin numbers are a little bit down for 16. And for 17, they're showing about the same as 16. We do fiscal years, so we're about to close out our fiscal year, which is why you don't see any 17 stats right now. Okay, so for heroin and fentanyl, I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of heroin. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of fentanyl. They're really strong opiates, fentanyl being stronger than heroin, and their one's way stronger than fentanyl, unfortunately. So what we started to see, like in 2011 and 2012, we had no fentanyl cases, none. And then you look at 2013, and we went from 0 to 18, which is pretty significant statewide. And then 24, and then 47, and then 59. And as of this year so far, we're probably going to touch 100 fentanyl cases. Just fentanyl. This is not necessarily that fentanyl was involved in a mixture. This is just fentanyl by itself cases. That's a really high number. It's an unprecedented number. We've never seen that kind of stat at the lab before. Now something you may not have heard of. I would kind of like to know. Who has heard of U47-700? Anybody? Okay, got a few. Okay. It is apparently, again, I ain't on the street, but it's apparently known as pink, like the color pink. But that is misleading because it's not pink. I don't know how it got its name. I have no idea how it got its name. But it's known on the street as pink. What is U47-700? Well, I will tell you. It is a synthetic opioid that was studied by a large pharmaceutical company named Upjohn. That's where the U comes from. And the number is actually just that number of compound. There were a lot of compounds that were done in this study, and the one that had the strongest effect on the animal testing was 47-700. So this is documented patent information, so it's available to chemists who decide they want to make something that skirts the law that can possibly get human beings high. So this information sat dormant from 1973 until very, very recently. Very recently. We began seeing this compound in the crime lab, and actually not just in the state of Georgia, but in all of the states pretty much by this point in our country. So this is not something that has just come and gone. It's coming and it's staying, and we've got big numbers of U47-700. So it has the same kind of effects as all of the other strong opioids, and it can look like anything. That's the other big message that I want to leave you with today, is that it doesn't have to be necessarily a powder. It doesn't have to be necessarily a pill. It can be a liquid also. These things they can be ingested in any way. They can be eaten, they can be snorted, they can be injected, any way that you can think of. And with these, a lot of these are transdermal also, meaning they are absorbed through the skin. So just touching them, you can have an exposure and or an overdose. So it's not important that you're able to look at a white powder and say, well, that's clearly U47-700. What is important is that you know what to do when you find it and how to protect yourself from it. So we are definitely going to get to that in just a moment. But I think it's important for you to see how bad this stuff is that we're seeing in the crime lab. We have 34 cases that are isolated right now just to U47-700. Again, that's isolated, that's just what's in it. This doesn't include mixtures with this and heroin and other components as well. Gray death. Who has heard of gray death? Right? Okay. Definitely been in the news a lot lately. Gray death is probably one of the worst things that I have ever seen in 20 years at the crime lab. It's terrible. It has a very toxic mixture of 3 or more opioids all together in one sample, and it looks like concrete mix. It's gray, it's really gray. It may be powdery or it may be more like a rock form, but the thing that's unique about gray death is gray. It's actually gray. The name represents what it looks like. And contained inside of this gray rock are things such as heroin, fentanyl, carfentanil, which we're going to talk about, U47-700, furanyl fentanyl, and others. We have seen up to 6 different opioids in one single sample. So you may be sitting there asking, how does a person live through that? My answer is, I have no idea. I don't know how you ingest that much, even with a tolerance. Even an experienced heroin or fentanyl user, I still don't see how they can survive that. We do have overdoses in our state as a result of gray death. There was a young lady out of Brookhaven. Some of you from the Atlanta area may have seen the story. So we do have overdoses as a result of it. Counterfeit tablets. So who's seen the story? I mean, we're right where it happened. So you guys know that we've recently received the knockoff Percocets. We did a counterfeit study at the crime lab. I had a young lady, a scientist, come to me and say, I've got a tablet, it's a Dirty 30. I guess, I don't know if you know what that is. It's an oxycodone marked as M30. It's called a Dirty 30. And so she said, I've got a Dirty 30 that has a mixture of all these things in it. And I knew we had been getting counterfeit tablets, which means they're marked as one thing and they're actually something else. I knew we had been getting them. But at that moment, I thought, I wonder how many we're actually getting and what's actually in those things. So we did a study in about 48 hours, just about around the clock with several of us, to try to data mine all of these cases and go through them and see what we actually had in these tablets. And it was astounding what we found. Most of them were alprazolam. I don't know if you guys recognize, these are the most common alprazolam tablets that we see in our state. Xanny bars, they're called. And this is one of the options for making them. These pill presses are available, unfortunately, and so they can get directions on the internet just like everything else and make your own pills. So when you make these pills illicitly, obviously there's no quality control, there's no FDA approvals, there's no human studies, there's no telling even from one pill to the next pill that it's going to be the same thing. And we find that in the lab too. Some of the counterfeit pills are obviously counterfeit. You can look at them and you can tell the edges are a little off, the coating looks a little off. The markings are just, you can tell something's wrong with it, the color, everything. But some of them look better than the illicit, real version of it. Of the study that we did, look at Metro Atlanta, y'all. Metro Atlanta, once again, and a couple other counties have them. I would submit to you that all of the counties, even if they are completely in white, I think the pills are there. These are just the ones that law enforcement has seized. So they're still there. They're still on the street. They just haven't been confiscated yet for whatever reason. So the biggest problem is in Metro Atlanta. Not a surprise. And these are the top 5 knocked off logos. So the top one by far is the Dirty 30, the M30 Oxys, and the rest are all Xanax or Alprazolam knockoffs. And those are the top 5. The top 5 drugs that we actually found in them, Alprazolam is number 1 and negative is number 2. So I see some eyebrows on the negative. Why would you put negative? Money, right? Tablet looks like Oxy, you sell it as Oxy, $1 a milligram, at least what it used to be. I don't know, Trevor may know that better than me, but $1 a milligram and it's negative. Now, you're probably not going to be able to sell it again to the same person because they're not going to get high, but if you move around or sell it to a bunch of different people, that can be very lucrative. So yeah, negative result was our number 2. Followed by, and this is number 3, 4, and 5 are what we really want to focus on here. Fentanyl, U47, 700, and something called Atizolam, which is a benzodiazepine. It's just like an Alprazolam, does the same thing, and we're finding those. The scary part about this is fentanyl and U47, 700 in an Alprazolam tablet and in an Oxy tablet. So there's a great chance that the user had no idea that they were putting fentanyl and U47, 700 into their bodies. I doubt they knew. Okay, this one is going to be kind of hard to see from where you sit, but essentially all I want to point out here is that 39% of what we saw in the counterfeit tablet were depressants, that's your Alprazolam, and then 30% were actually opiates, and the rest were kind of split randomly across the board. Then this one I definitely don't expect you to be able to see, but this actually represents all 454 cases that we found, and this is every drug that was in them. So what is the bottom line? You got no idea what's in it. If you can't source that tablet, and I don't mean you, but if a person doesn't go to the pharmacy, get their prescription filled, and take it as directed, if it's anything outside of that scheme, all bets are off. You don't know what you're getting. Carfentanyl. Who's heard of carfentanyl? The elephant tranquilizer? Yeah, a few of you. This is the most potent synthetically available opioid out there commercially. So this is one where, this is actually a Schedule 2, meaning it has a medical use. This is used in the veterinary field for tranquilizing large animals, buffalo, elephant, rhinoceros, etc. Not used very much in our country. Well, at least it wasn't. So this is something that has been around for a very long time. This is the one that it takes the grain of sand can cause an overdose of carfentanyl. This one is 100 times stronger than fentanyl itself. This is the one, if you just touch it, just an itty bitty bit on your paw, and you brush your face, or it gets anywhere near your eye, or it even goes through where you touched it, this can result in an overdose. We did identify those at the crime lab. It contained U47 700, which we talked about as pink, and a brand new fentanyl analog, cyclopropyl fentanyl. I don't have a fancy name for that yet, I'm working on it. But cyclopropyl fentanyl, so that was a brand new one. So for us, we did treat it like we treat a true unknown at the crime lab. We had to make a hypothesis of what we thought the molecule was, get a chemical company to manufacture that standard for us, compare the known to the unknown. That's what took us over a week to get you all the results. So we knew it was a fentanyl, we just didn't know which one until we confirmed it with a standard. So that's what took us a minute to do that. So that was a brand new one. I will say, major props to our Georgia legislators who enacted legislation. Governor signed it in April of this year. We created a fentanyl backbone, like we got distracted on a moment ago. The fentanyl backbone meant the core stays the same, the bits can change. So because of this proactive legislation in our state, that compound was a Schedule 1 before we even knew it existed. And that's the whole purpose of doing that. We've done backbone legislation with all of the benzodiazepines as well. So all of your Xanax and your Valium, they keep trying to tweak those. We also have a backbone in place for those as well. The thing I'm going to talk about next, bath salts, there's a backbone for that. Synthetic cannabinoids or spice, there's a backbone for that. So we're trying to, this is our attempt as chemists to fight this. We're going to tweak it a little bit and make it legal. This is our fight against that. And so far, it's been very successful. Okay, cathinones or bath salts. This is what they look like. And I don't know if you may have ever come across them or not. They're not transdermal. That's a good thing. I still wouldn't touch it, but it's not transdermal. So what we don't have is, accidental overdoses as a result of these, like we do with the opiates. I don't expect you to see this. What I do want you to see, that whole bottom line, those are all synthetics. So the days of being a drug chemist and saying, oh, it's either heroin, meth, cocaine, or it's this pill that is actually what it says it is, days are gone. Synthetics are here, and they're here to stay. It is not important that you know the names of each one of them. You can trust in your local GBI crime lab to give you a report that has the right one on it, and I will see to that. However, what's important is that you just know there are a lot of things out there that look like one thing, and they're actually something else. The most popular bath salt that we see is ethylone. May not mean that much to you. It changes colors too, just like the season. Go figure. And then 5-FA and B. Again, don't expect you to know all of that. Synthetic LSD. Did you know that was even a thing? It sure is. I'm telling you, everything that there's something that can cause a high, there's a synthetic thing that tries to do the same thing. So synthetic LSD is out there. If something looks suspicious, it might be. Even if it's in a cake or a Fruity Pebble, Rice Krispie treat. I will tell you, at Christmas time, we did get all of the German chocolate and the red velvet cakes. And when we did those extractions, normally we smell like a drug lab. For the first time, we smelled like a kitchen. It smelled so good in our lab that day. We did all these extractions, and all these aromas are just coming out from these goodies. And you can't really smell the marijuana in them. That's the interesting thing about it. You can't really, now some people don't go to the trouble to make the butter and filter it properly. They just kind of throw the leafy material in there. So sometimes you can actually look at it and there will be leafy material still in there. So we'll see psilocin mushrooms, for example, in chocolate. That's not a real common thing that we see, but it's the same purpose. So we'll see brownies with actual leafy material in it as well. So it's just a thing. Now, I want to point out gummies. Gummies are a thing. I don't know if they're going to become a big thing in the state of Georgia, but infused gummies, worms, bears, fish, snakes, whatever, gummy whatever, that's become a trend recently for us. Now, those gummy bears look pretty jacked up. Like some are missing an ear, half a face, one of them only got half a body. Like, no, we know something's wrong with that, okay? These aren't the, what is it, Haribo is the brand? These aren't those, okay? So, but we are seeing them in gummy worms, bears, fishes, and etc. We are also seeing a lot of the vapes. I'm sure, we all know what the vaporizers are. That is not to say that every vape out there has a controlled substance in it by any means, but we have definitely seen vapes that we've tested and are positive for THC, for sure, and you can't tell, you can't smell them. We're going to go through a couple of really cool cases, not so that you'll be confiscating candles and sending them in, but just to show you the means of smuggling techniques that we see, just to maybe be on the lookout for these things. Know that they're out there. These are candles about 2 to 3 feet tall, and what we thought, well, the wick itself was as big as my pinky, so this picture doesn't do it a whole lot of justice, but they were 2 to 3 feet tall, and what we thought is the meth was going to be hidden inside of some kind of compartment. It wasn't. We used a saw, and I had 2 girls working on this thing, and they sawed until their shoulder hurt, and then they would switch out, and then their other shoulder hurt, and they kept switching out, and I had to buy 2 blades for the saw. Something you wouldn't think a chemistry major would need, a saw blade, but I had to buy 2 that day. So we sawed and sawed and sawed, and so we finally got through this thing, and it was what you see right there. I'm like, what is this? Well, we took it to our instrument and it was complete methamphetamine. So what you're looking at here is methamphetamine infused completely in candle wax. Completely. So this whole thing is methamphetamine. So all you would have to do is melt that back down, salt it out, and you got your crystal. Okay, this is one of the coolest cases that I have ever seen in my history of doing this. These are just kidney beans, right? Nope. There are kidney beans that are darker and kidney beans that are lighter. The one on the left is fake. The one on the bottom is fake. If you cut open each of those, there was a little plastic barrier on the right inside of that heroin. Kidney beans, heroin, yep. So here's the job I don't want. I don't want to be the one painting the little white dot on all those beans. No, that's not a fun job. I'm not trying to do that. And there were like thousands, tens of thousands of these beans. So we get something like this. What is this, you say? Well, it turns out this is candy. And you can actually roll it up into your own little shaped lollipop. Kind of a cool little thing, maybe a fun trick for the kids to do. It was completely negative. There was not a thing in that. But it was sent to us for testing. I thought I would show it to you. Doesn't mean all of it's going to be negative. It would be a great way to infuse something into a body. So I would say we may see something like this again in the future, but that one's completely negative. What you're looking at here is Flocka, alpha PVP, it's a bath salt, Schedule 1. This was allegedly, a Declaration of Customs said it's a $10 gift. Nope. It was blue, and it's 500 grams of Schedule 1 alpha PVP, bath salt. So this was a battery-type container that we had to saw. Again, the saws, who would have thought? We sawed and sawed and sawed. Got through, this was like a battery-type container. It was that kind of plastic, that kind of thick. Got up in it, and it was bricks of meth. This one was, you see it's in the shape of a tire. That's how it was found, in a tire. Opened it up, and it actually contained black tar heroin, which is in the top right, something our country doesn't see a whole lot of, and then crystal meth down in the bottom. So in total, there were 20 bricks of meth and 4 bricks of black tar heroin. The most black tar heroin I've ever seen in my career. And this is fentanyl. We got 40 kilos of fentanyl. This one made the news. Bartow, Cartersville Drug Task Force brought us this, suspected cocaine. Surprise, it was not. There's 40 kilos of fentanyl. This is our highest seizure to date. This is not how fentanyl looks anymore. I put this in here to show you the patches, the suckers, lollipops. You're not going to see it like this. It's going to be in a powder, it's going to be in a pill. This case scared me to death, I'll be honest with you. This was furanol fentanyl. It's one of the analogs we haven't talked about. This case was a huge box that was sent to us, weighed over 8 kilos in total for the whole case, and it was complete furanol fentanyl. I'm going to spare you the case details of it, but we didn't expect it to be furanol fentanyl. Field testing was negative on this. So when we got it, we thought it was negative. It was not negative. So this shows you how important your personal protective equipment can be. Just because you think it may be one thing, it may be something else. I do want to point that out, sorry. We had 11 overdoses as a result of furanol fentanyl in Georgia so far, and we've reported 12 furanol fentanyl cases. This one's never been studied on humans. We don't know how powerful it is. We do have deaths in our state that I think are a good testimony as to how powerful that it is. This is a very clean, OSHA-approved, laboratory-grade manufacturing facility, as you can tell. This is where this stuff came from. And it actually showed up on there. That's a handheld ROM, it's just a handheld scanning device that the law enforcement can use. And it actually showed up on there as a clue that it may be fentanyl. This case here, all of the boxes that you see are full of all of these vapes. And then all of the packages that you see in the background are alleged grape ape marijuana. I don't even know what the grape ape means. It didn't smell like grape. But these were all positive for THC. Everything in this case, all of those vapes, all of the marijuana, of course, and the gummy worms, all THC infused. And then sometimes you need a place to store your meth, and you put it in your fire extinguisher. Just saying. Right, don't burn your house down if it's full of meth. That's not gonna work out well. Okay guys, so what can we do about especially the opiates? Now, why I want to focus on those is because those are the ones that are the most deadly in the lowest concentrations. Those are the ones that you can easily have an accidental exposure to. So those are the ones that we're going to focus on. This is the reversal agent right here. This is the drug. Narcan or Naloxone is the drug that's in it. Probably most of you have heard of it. We issued it to all of our GBI agents. In addition, we have it in our laboratory as well. I hope I never ever have to use it, but we have it if we do. There are instances where it may take 1 dose of Naloxone. There are instances it may take 3, 4, up to 6, I've read about, to reverse an overdose. And then there are instances where it didn't work for whatever reason. But this is the #1 protection that you can have. I have heard, again, not being on the street, but I have heard from a dope agent that sometimes the seller will sell the Narcan with the drug. You get your Narcan, you get your dope. You have a designated Naloxone person, so one of the people stays sober, while the others get high in case they need to give Narcan to somebody in the room. Yeah. It's pretty scary. I know. It's kind of you know what, I will tell you this. I'm going to share this with you too. And again, not being on the street, this is definitely a secondhand thing, but I have heard that when a seller sells someone something and they overdose and die from it, that people seek that person out and the sales go up because they know the stuff is good. They know they had an overdose, sales go up. So if you overdose all your customers, like eventually, that's not going to be a good business model, but it's all about money. All right, so here's the big stuff. Here's really what we're here about. Everything that I just showed you is really just to show you what all is out there. Not important that you remember chemical, heebie-sheebie, whatever I said. Not important at all. What's important is nothing looks like anything anymore. Pills may not be what's supposed to be in it. Powders can have doggone anything. Liquids can have doggone anything. Even candles can have really bad things in them. That's the whole point of everything that I have said to you so far. Now is the point where we talk about, what do we do? How can you protect yourself? You guys may be aware of there were different instances, but 2 I will talk about, of officers who had accidental exposures. One of them was a known heroin user, which is your first clue. He used gloves and he did everything appropriately during the search. He got back into the office and he noticed there was something on his uniform, brushed it off of his uniform, and immediately started showing signs of opiate exposure and then opiate overdose. Those signs are very important. Slurred speech, blurry vision, confusion, trouble staying awake. It's called nodding off. You absolutely can't stay awake. But the biggest thing, you can't get your breath. Your breathing is depressed to a very large extent. Now, that's with an exposure. If you go into overdose mode, the symptoms are much worse. You're going to lose complete consciousness. You're going to be on the floor. No one's going to be able to wake you up. There will be no response to external stimuli. Someone shaking you, a loud noise, not going to respond to that. The person may be bluish or grayish. Why is that? Because they're not getting the oxygen they need. So this is how the opiates actually kill. They slow that breathing down, respiratory depression, to the point that not enough oxygen gets to your brain. At that point, the brain begins to shut down, resulting in coma, permanent brain damage, or even death. Now, that's very gloom and doom. All that to say, we do have a reversal agent. So if you have an exposure, you being in the line of work that you do, if you have an exposure, my top recommendation is Naloxone to reverse that. CPR, don't forget to do that. The person isn't breathing. CPR, and anybody be like, oh, I'm not putting my mouth because they just overdosed. That's okay. Do the best that you can. Do the chest compressions if you feel comfortable doing that. If not, that's up to you. CPR, Naloxone, definitely my top recommendations. The other thing that we really need to make sure we have are gloves. We don't need to be opening pill bottle to see what's in it with our bare hands anymore. Pouring out those pills, you could expose yourself. Anyway, I distracted myself already. Let me tell you about the other officer. So the officer started having all these signs and symptoms, and he said he couldn't believe that he was having an overdose. He couldn't believe, he was like, oh my gosh, I think I just got something on me. Like, what did I just brush off? And it was a fentanyl exposure. He was given Narcan at the hospital, and he's completely fine, but it scared him to death. And the other officer, he was searching a car and was, of course, gloved up in the proper PPE, but opened the glove box, and a plume of powder came out, and he had an exposure that way. So there's definitely not an over-dramatization here. These things are that bad. They are that deadly. And in your line of work, if you should come across any of these things, I want you to know what's out there and what to do about it. Okay, in our laboratory, we definitely do double gloves. We definitely do an N95 particle mask. Basically, that's just fancy language for 95% of the particles in the air get filtered out. So you're breathing in mostly, good air. You can up it to 99% if you feel better. The recommendation is N95, OSHA approved, NIOSH approved particle mask. Long gloves, because the gloves come up yay here, and then your sleeve, that is a really pretty bracelet. I got it on sale. So your sleeves come down to here, and the gloves here, so there's still room right here. So you may want to think about long gloves. Searching upwind, I don't think you guys are going to necessarily be searching. I don't know, but if you do, if you have a choice, and the wind is going yonder way, you can get on this side of it. Okay, now, this is something that I don't necessarily know that would be necessary for what you are doing. APRs, assisted breathing apparatus, for stash house or trap house, and then APRs for saturated environments. I do want to say, with the masks in general, if you have facial hair, that may affect its ability to function properly. If there's some kind of field test kit that you have, I don't know if you have field test kits available to you, but if it's negative, that doesn't mean anything. There aren't very many field test kits that are going to be able to tell you the really specifics about these. Some of them can tell the difference between heroin and fentanyl, some of them cannot, and then others, they're never going to be able to tell you which fentanyl you have. So if it's car fentanyl, the really, really deadly one, you're never going to know that. I appreciate very much what you do, and I was very inspired listening to what you said this morning. And I really understand what you guys do and how important it is for our society. And chances are you only hear the bad stuff, the negative press, the whatever you get. I want to say thank you to you. It takes a special skill set to do what you do, and I appreciate you so much. I thank you so much for inviting me here today. I thank you for your time. I'm going to let you go eat because I'm the only thing that's standing in the way between you and TTing and eating. So I'm going to let